Story 1. I spent 6 years growing my dad's mechanic shop from $250K to $7 million in revenue, but my investment banker siblings, who never cared, suddenly won in. So my dad gave them 60% and made my sister CEO, even though she told me everyone is replaceable. So I took our biggest clients and best mechanics and started my own shop. Posted by u/physical_antelope170. I, 29 Mao, am unsure if this is the right subreddit, but I need advice on a family and business relationship. My dad, 65 Mem, is a heavy diesel mechanic and has run a small workshop his whole life. I have always been interested in his work since I was a kid and would always help him out on the weekends. I went to university and studied mechanical engineering and commerce, but struggled and dropped out and traveled the world for a year. My siblings, 36M and 32F, are both in investment banking and are successful. Since I was 23, I have worked with my dad as a mechanic and slowly taken over his workshop. When I started, he had 2 part-time mechanics and 1 car in 2017. I have bought in several new strategies such as focusing on commercial verticals only, off-hours servicing, etc. And we have grown to 35 employees and 15 cars. We went from $250,000 in revenue to just shy of $7 million this financial year. My dad only works in the workshop while I'm more 20/80 workshop to office split. The pandemic has meant our business has grown tremendously in the last few years. A few weeks ago at my dad's 65th birthday dinner, he talked about the numbers of the business and everyone was shocked. No one in the family has ever visited our workshop or asked about it. Since then, he has been thinking about the succession plan after my siblings have been asking about it. He proposed the following idea to me. I get 40% of the business, they get 30% and 30%. My sister would get a manager position as she is looking to leave the IB world to start a family, and my brother would get the same as well if he wants it. I noted everything he said and just asked for some time to think. They started proposing some of the most insane ideas without any context of the business. I'm seriously annoyed. My dad has run this for 32 years, but only since I joined did we expand. I admit I did use my dad's network, reputation, skill, and initial workshop to get a head start, but it was my idea to expand, get a bigger workshop, and implement risky ideas. I don't think my siblings who have never even asked about the business should get cushy, high-paying jobs for doing nothing. If we wanted a $200,000 a year manager, I would get one with industry experience. I have spoken to him briefly, but he was shocked by my reaction and said it was his dream to have all his siblings work in the business. But my brother and sister have never even picked up a spanner before in their lives. I have been hanging around since I was 12. He always said it would be mine. I don't want to have to answer to a board of my siblings who I get the vibe they think they are smarter than me just because they finished university. I built this business with just my dad and want to keep building it with him without my siblings. I can see it from their point of view as this is a family business my dad started, and my dad wants to make it more of an effort to include them, but I feel they only want to be included because we are now successful. I am being accused of being greedy and entitled by my family. I think this is ridiculous, and the business is mine after spending the last 6 years building it. I would love some outside perspective on this situation. I just wanted to give a quick update. Thank you for the amazing advice and for linking the plumber story. Reading that really scared me, and it basically happened to me. Some quick points. I can't really sell my shares or this business. We are a service business where we get paid for the work we have done and we have assets, but it's like used, dirty utes and tools. Worth 100,000 new, but nothing on the second market. We had a family business lawyer meeting last night, and I don't know what is happening. My sister and brother had been lobbying my dad about the direction and strategy of the company before this for weeks. They feel it would be in better hands with my sister being CEO, my brother being CFO, and me as COO or glorified operations manager, and unfortunately, my dad agrees with them. During the session, I felt incredibly patronized. They laid out this 5-year plan and how the company would grow to be this huge entity we would own equal amounts in. They didn't talk to anyone in the actual business about this plan or even our customers. They wanted to make things standard, but the reason our customers love us is that we are flexible and accommodating. I asked a few questions to see how set my dad was in this plan and realized he was really excited. I tried to argue the current business was 50-50, my dad's and mine. Therefore, it should be split 66%, 17%, and 17%. Their huge salaries would be better off hiring mechanics to grow. I was told everyone is replaceable by my sister. This crushed me because I don't think that's true. I have so much tacit knowledge, and the 27 mechanics are loyal to me. I secured our biggest 10 customers only in the last 15 months because I have this reputation as the mechanic who went to uni and worked on the tools. I know I leverage this in the bidding process over other companies. This isn't like a public company. Everything in this industry is relationships. I've been reading The Art of War this last month, and I've decided I'm not going to voice any more concerns. I'm going to go along with the plan and let my emotions mellow out and wait till I can think of some options. Relevant comments. Op responds to a comment involving a similar story to the family business situations between the father and children. OP, wow, I can't believe there are more stories like this on Reddit, and I didn't even think about it. My issue is, without me, I know my dad would have been fine just making a good salary and not expanding. I had to convince him to let us take on risk and debt to grow. My sister and brother didn't care about the business or contribute in any way, so I don't see why they should get ownership. We aren't making a profit because everything is being reinvested into the company. OP, I'm not from the USA, so university was paid for by government loans. Even though the business is making just under 7M now, salary-wise, Dad made about $80,000 a year when I joined, and we pay ourselves like $150,000 now, which makes us good, but not like uber rich. OP, we use the profits to hire more mechanics, so we do more work, so we can hire more mechanics. Each mechanic we had needs about 5 to 10K in extra tools we need to hire, or a new ute we need to buy. Commenter 1, tell your dad that you spent a lot of years working with him. Explain how much you've contributed in the past 6 years. Ask for 51%. You don't want your brother and sister to outvote you in a business that they don't know. Ops' response, I understand, but I don't want them to have any percent. I was told at the start that the company was mine, as they never wanted anything to do with it. I'm starting to think I'm open to paying them out some cash for it, but I feel I grew this company from nothing to where we are now. When I joined, my dad worked just enough to make an $80,000 salary. I wanted to expand and grow the company. If I left, the company would stop. I run everything. The two of them together couldn't do my job. Op on his siblings' jobs and if they enjoy their respective fields or not. OP, yes, exactly. They chose to work in a corporate and they hate it. I feel they see this as an opportunity to make the same money and work for themselves. We have a system and culture in place that will get ruined by bringing in two people. I also feel they aren't entitled to the business. I built it up with the understanding it would be mine. Commenter 2, your dad is being ridiculous. Suggest he sell the business and split it however he chooses. It's his business, even if you helped expand it. But make it clear that you're not comfortable working in that situation. Consider whether you want to continue building your father's asset. You're not being greedy at all. He's offering you 10% of his business, in consideration for the work you've done to date, plus an equal share with your siblings after that. That's not crazy unfair to you, but the work situation he's proposing is ridiculous. You shouldn't stay in a dysfunctional situation just to keep everybody happy. Ops response. I understand you are saying it's his business, but honestly, I don't feel he owns 100% of the current company. I think it would be split 50-50 between him and me at the moment. Op on his siblings' relationships with their father and success in business. OP, I am open to them having a percentage or a payoff for my dad's half of the business. My dad and I are super close, but my dad and siblings aren't. I worked with him even while I was at uni, but they got normal jobs that paid less money. He has tried bonding with them, but he thinks the world of them. I know they are smart and successful, but they haven't achieved what they expected in life. I have tried talking to my sister and brother individually, but they dismiss me, and it's really hard not to be seen as the little brother who dropped out of uni to travel the world, you know? Commenter 3, NTA. Can you talk to your dad about a purchase price? Maybe 50% to you and 25% to each of your siblings, and get your dad to agree that you buy them out. That way, Dad gets to feel like he's giving them something, they feel like they got something, and you get to own the company yourself. It still sucks for you, but it might work out better than trying to work with them in your company. Ops response: I have tried, but my dad is really excited about them joining the team. I joked about them starting on the floor with the apprentices, and he laughed. They aren't the type to get dirty. My dad sees we hired a few operation people and a couple of finance people in the last year, and he doesn't understand why they can't join the office. I've tried explaining the bookkeepers and admin people get paid $65,000 and do what I tell them. Update, 10 days later. I'm unsure if I should just keep editing the update or post an update as its own post. I'm finding updating this therapeutic, and it's beneficial to know that other people agree with me, as everyone around me thinks I'm crazy. Unfortunately, the nuclear options needed to happen. My sister and brother came to the workshop to get onboarded last week. They both wore pastel polos to a mechanic shop and refused to shake anyone's hands because our hands were covered in grease. My dad was so excited to show them around, and let's just say none of the dudes was too impressed. I went to my mom and dad's after to talk. I expressed some thoughts and feelings, but they were so dismissive. I tried to pitch some of the ideas in the comments, slower start to joining the business, but they just felt everything would work out. I just lost it and told my dad he was a terrible mechanic and I would never hire him. He is sloppy and inefficient. I asked him, why is he never on the road? Why does he only work on ad hoc random issues and never works on routine repairs or servicing on our biggest clients? He is slow. He doesn't know how to use the latest tools and technology. He doesn't even know how to update the iPad checklist forms that I created, as at the end of the servicing, and he sometimes misses checks. I partner the first-year apprentices with him because he doesn't clean up the tools after himself properly. He doesn't wipe them down and place them back in their allocated spot for the next person. They have to do it for him. I told them I don't want to work in a family business. I have always felt like the black sheep of the family. My older siblings were close, but I felt excluded. They constantly lectured me about how I should go back and finish my degree rather than waste my life in the workshop working a dead-end job. And now, after they have seen the success of this dead-end job, they want to come in? I'll save Reddit from all the points, but a lot of resentment and issues came up. After that talk, I knew what I needed to do. I went to one of our biggest clients and my mentor, the CEO, 55M, of a logistics company, and told him the story. He offered me a $250,000 loan over 3 years to start my own shop. I signed the lease at our old workshop and spent all my savings on 4 cheap utes and close to $45,000 in tools. I have already confirmed with our 8 biggest customers to move to my new workshop, which is close to 65% of our total revenue. I have confirmed with 7 of our best mechanics they will move to my shop, and I'll welcome over any of the other boys once the news breaks. I just copied our previous employment contracts off a template, so there is no conflict. I know this is going to blow up the family and will decimate the old business. I did try talking to my sister about the changes, but she just treated me as the little kid that got lucky. My dad was delusional and too excited to see all his kids working in the same business. To me, it was never about money or greed. During my time, my title was boss's son. I just loved leading a team of solid boys working outside fixing stuff up that broke with my pops. I know the culture and business I built were gone, so I don't feel I'm destroying anything, but I feel guilty. Top comments. Commenter 1. Op chose violence and I'm here for it. If you're already running the place, then you should have say in these decisions. Godspeed, Op. You got this. Commenter 2. I wonder how the geniuses are going to do when their new business implodes within weeks of them starting. They're going to have the world record of killing a successful business the quickest, and they will deserve it. They'll have no clients, few workers worth a damn, and little money to pay their massive salaries because they wouldn't listen to the one guy who actually built and knew the business. I would keep records of this and show them to business professors as a textbook example of how not to capitalize on your top asset and destroy your family business in one fell swoop. Commenter 3. Good for you. You did a great job standing up for yourself. I'm sorry your dad couldn't see and appreciate all the hard work you've put into the business. Best of luck in your new business. Keep us updated on how your family reacts. Oh, if your sister pitches a fit, tell her, I thought everyone was replaceable. Story 2. My best friend takes me on Valentine's states and sleeps in my bed during thunderstorms and says he wishes he could find someone like me. But when his coworkers asked if I was his girlfriend, he called me his sister. So I finally confessed my feelings, and he said, I have everything he wants, but he doesn't know how things would work logistically because of my size. Posted by you/to_way_love throwaway because he knows my account name. I 25F have known my best friend 26M for 12 years. I've been secretly in love with him for about half that time. Just a little backstory, we met back in middle school when his family moved into the townhouse next to ours. At the time I was in 7th grade, he was in 8th. We quickly became friends not long after and were spending a lot of time together, basic friendly interactions. Our backyards were connected, so when our parents were asleep, he would sometimes slip out of his patio door and come over to my room, and we would just talk. Around my junior year, his senior year of high school, we were both going through bad breakups at the same time. One of these nights where he came over, he kind of made a joke about how easy it would be for us to date. I agreed, but we kind of laughed it off and didn't bring it up again. Then about 2 weeks later, it finally happened. We did everything but be intimate that night. The next day, we both kind of moved on like it never happened. However, things slowly changed after that. This is when I began developing feelings. We both graduated. He moved away as fast as he could. Not far, just a couple towns over. The first couple years of not being right next door, we barely saw each other but still texted and occasionally talked on the phone. I figured this was mostly due to the fact he started dating someone at the time. Over the last 3 years, we've been closer than ever, both of us single. We talk on the phone every single day and have not missed a day, even if it's a quick hello and just checking in. He knows I'm afraid of bugs and has come to my place to handle big spiders for me, a couple of those times between 1 to 3 a.m. We frequently buy each other gifts for holidays, birthdays, and often just because. Every year he takes me out for Valentine's Day and my birthday to rather extravagant dinners and an activity he thinks I would enjoy. A few times he has sent flowers to my job just because, and even surprised me a couple months ago delivering the flowers to me personally because I was having a bad day. I've taken him on vacation for his birthday, just the two of us. And I've also surprised him at work with various gifts if he was having a bad day. We take care of each other when we're sick, like sleeping over each other's house and basically nursing back to health. He knows thunderstorms scare me and will often spend the night with me if it's really getting to me. Yes, sleeping in the same bed, he has on multiple occasions said things like, I wish I could date someone like you, or I wish I could find someone like me for you. To which I have replied, yay, we would be perfect for each other. But we always leave it there. This year, I moved closer to him, about a 3-minute drive. He also works in the area, and I work from home 3 days a week. We both work in an office setting that allows us to talk on the phone all day while we're working. It's basically a part of our routine. He calls me on his way to work, and unless one of us has a meeting, we stay on the phone all day until he gets off. Our coworkers know this about us. He has been out with my coworkers and I for drinks. While I have not met any of his, I've talked to a couple of them on the phone frequently, as sometimes when he's in his office he will have me on speaker. They know my name, but I've never met me in person. I work mornings, and he starts in the afternoon, so when I'm getting off work he's usually going on his lunch. If I'm working from home, he would come over on his lunch break and I would make him food. When I'm in the office, I would pick him up something and bring it to him at the office, or just grab him and we would go out to eat on his lunch. Well, yesterday he was getting off work early and I was picking him up to go to dinner and then our town's carnival together. He purposely walked to work this day because the carnival is near his office and the parking is horrendous during this time. When I got there, he was still finishing up some work and I had to go to the bathroom really badly, so I came in to use theirs. He got me and brought me back to his office. While we were walking out, we ran into a couple of his coworkers, and they asked if I was his girlfriend. I said no, and thought we would leave it there. He doubled down and said, "This is my little sister." I was floored. He has never referred to me as his sister, at least to my knowledge. I've never told him how I feel about him, but I've hinted around it a little, and our mutual friends have asked us why we aren't just dating before, and he has said he doesn't want to lose me as a friend. Call me crazy, But if anything, my feelings have tripled for him over the last 3 years of him basically treating me like his girlfriend. Now I feel completely stupid, like I read into things too deeply. This morning, he called me when he was leaving work. His office occasionally has to work Saturdays when they're busy. He told me his co-workers asked about me, saying they've never seen him with a girl and could have sworn we were dating based on how we were looking at each other. They said they've never seen him look as happy as he looked when we were together. He told them it's just great having someone in his life who completely understands him and he can be himself around. I'm so confused. I'm not going to tell him how I feel, but knowing he thinks of me as a sister has me very shocked, confused, and just feeling like an idiot. Update 6 days later. Literally 2 people ask for an update, so here I am, LOL. I feel like the title is all the recap needed, but real quick. I've been secretly in love with my best friend for a few years, and we definitely crossed the boundaries of a normal friendship, but then he introduced me as his sister to his coworkers. Well, as a lot of the comments stated, he's not attracted to me. The opportunity finally arose for me to bring it up casually. We were talking about relationships, and he was saying how he hasn't had much luck finding anyone. Things just haven't worked out for various reasons. Despite a lot of the comments, none of those reasons have been for how close we are. So as he's telling me about the latest girl he stopped talking to, she was hardly ever responding to texts or calls for anyone interested in the reason. I said, well, it sounds like you need to change up from what you usually go for. I basically told him he needs someone like me and our relationship. He agreed. He said word for word, "Yay, you're right. If you were someone else, we would definitely be together." This was my first opportunity to bring it up, but I chickened out. Then we were both talking about how we haven't been intimate in a while as we've both been single, and I said, "Yay, we should help each other out." He kind of laughed awkwardly, and I should have taken that as the sign, but I was in it now. I had the courage to finally ask, why have we never dated? He admitted that he used to have feelings for me in high school, but didn't think I would leave my ex. The ex he was referring to was the guy I was with before we had our one night that we don't talk about. I asked him why he thought that when I was with him afterwards, and then we never spoke of it. He said it just didn't seem like I was over him at the time. So naturally, I asked what about after when he realized I didn't want him back. He said he had already started thinking of me differently and now sees me as his sister. He says he couldn't go back on that now, it's too weird. It would really be like dating his sister. I didn't really push the conversation after this, I just let it end. I actually feel like he lied, which is a lot, because I've never felt that way before. I really think he was never attracted in the first place, and maybe that night was a rebound situation, and he didn't want to hurt my feelings. Either way, I know the truth now, and I'm moving on. A lot of people said I was letting these feelings hold me back from relationships, and genuinely I wasn't. I've dated and things have ended for various reasons, also none of those reasons being because of my relationship with him. I actually found out the reason none of his exes had an issue is because he's been telling them on his sister this whole time. So, yay, safe to say that's never happening. I still feel utterly stupid and delusional for ever thinking it was anything romantic, but lesson learned, I guess. This isn't going to end our friendship, but I will definitely be setting more boundaries, starting with no more sleepovers. Final update, 21 days later. Okay, so I wasn't going to make another update, but I feel like we're on this journey together now. I'm not sure how to link previous posts, but they're on my profile. The summary is, I'm in love with my best friend, but he introduced me to his co-workers as his sister. I tried to address it without revealing my feelings. He told me he used to have feelings for me, but he now only sees me as his sister. Now that we're all caught up, onto the update. So many comments said my approach should have been direct. A few people thinking he probably has feelings for me, but is also scared I don't feel the same way. Well, sorry to disappoint, that wasn't the case. A couple days ago, he sent me a TikTok of a guy saying something like, "To my girlfriends, if you've never been treated right, it's my duty to show you what good intimacy feels like." So with this TikTok and the encouragement of the comments, I finally did it. I responded back with a TikTok I found that says something like, "When he's calling you his sister, but he should be calling you his soulmate." He responded with a laugh emoji. I responded back, "I'm serious." It took him a couple hours to respond to this. I was sure he still didn't get it, but finally he did. He called me as he was leaving work. He asked if the TikTok meant what he thought it meant. I said, "If you think it means that I feel like we're meant to be together, but you're out here calling me your sister, then yes." He just went silent. So silent that I had to check to make sure the call hadn't disconnected. I said, did I break you?" He asked where this was coming from. I said I've had feelings for a while, and I wasn't sure he felt the same way, so I just hadn't said anything. Well, a couple of y'all guessed what happened next. He has a problem with my size. Since this is anonymous anyway, might as well just put the numbers. Back in high school, I was around 250 pounds. I graduated early, so I finished at the end of my junior year to allow myself a gap year. During this time, I was working 2 full-time jobs and a part-time job. I know, when did I sleep? After an accident where I fell down some concrete stairs and broke my leg in 2 places. It was winter, and the stairs were icy. I lost all 3 of my jobs and was unemployed for the next 10 months. I was extremely depressed and definitely put on some weight and had just been going up in weight for years after. Now I'm currently at 432 pounds and still on the longest journey to get back to at least my high school weight for now. He said he's never dated anyone my size before and does not know how that would work. You know, during intimacy. None of this was making sense to me. Every single girl he has dated is technically the same size as me. He has always dated shorter girls, 5 feet to 5 feet 3 inches, and by his own account they were around 200 to 250 pounds. I am 5 feet 7 inches. Technically, the way I carry weight, the size is no different than anyone else he has dated. What I did not know is one time I went to lunch with him after a doctor's appointment, and he saw some papers from the visit in my car, and it had my weight on there, which at the time was 464 pounds. This apparently is when he started looking at me differently. He just didn't think it would logistically work out. But oh, don't worry. He understands that I have everything he is looking for in a relationship. He actually said, "You always fill in the gap when I don't have a girlfriend." Seriously, what the heck? I had to dig real deep into my years of therapy because my first thought was, okay, so if I get back to 250, then he'll have feelings for me again. I was disgusted with myself for even thinking that. Needless to say, we haven't talked in days. I scheduled another therapy appointment, and I don't think we can even be friends after this. I guess thanks Reddit for encouraging me to have a direct conversation and really discover how he feels about me. Edit 1. I guess the comments think I put this weight on overnight. This was over 7 to 8 years of unhealthy choices and habits where I was in a place that I was severely depressed and did not care if I lived or not. Even once I started back working, I had to take a job I hated and was having the hardest time finding something new, so my habits continued. I was working an office job from home, and I was not working out at all. I made a comment explaining more, so I won't duplicate that here. I am not in any way mad that he feels this way. I'm just sad. There is also a comment explaining that too, but I'm a US size 4X. He is a US size 3X. This is part of why his reason shocked me. It's not like he's a super skinny guy. I am not in denial about my size. I know I'm a big girl and I am working on that. I know my size is no one's fault, but my own for not waking up sooner. I'm allowed to feel sad and ashamed. Regardless of size, you can't possibly tell me you wouldn't feel sad the person you love has basically admitted to using you as a placeholder. Edit 2. To all the comments saying it's fake based on my size comparison, I have stood next to these girls and really did not think I'm that much bigger than them. I guess from the comments I may have body dysmorphia. I have a big chest and carry more weight in my hips and thighs than my stomach. Also, I've been working on body composition, so I've kind of distributed out to muscle as well. I have lost more inches than actual numbers. A few people think I'm just saying I'm working on it, but not actually doing anything. I actually mean I'm working on it. I made another comment on this, but I'm in a cooking class to learn healthier eating and making healthy meals. I have a personal trainer I meet with twice a week. I'm seeing a dietitian. I didn't put it in my other comment, but I have PCOS and thyroid issues that hormonally just makes it harder, but I have doctors for that as well. I'm very much real and honestly trying not to take all these comments to heart. That wasn't even what the post was about, but thank you everyone for pointing out this thing I can't change overnight. Relevant thread that brings a bit more info. Commenter 1, you do need immediate medical help though. That weight will end you. I say this as a recovering substance user. Girl, get the help you need. This is either medical or mental. You need to address this before you pass away. If you saw me skin over bones using substances, would you want me to get help? Please treat yourself the way you would treat me. Commenter 2. Did you miss the part where they already said they're going to therapy and on a journey to lose weight? Or is her weight all you care about in the story, just like the guy she's talking about? Commenter 1, because that's the life-threatening thing right now. When someone struggling can't stop, do you recommend rehab? Her situation is real, but far, far harder to deal with. She needs to eat multiple times a day. Her challenge is food. I am away from substances, and my body burns for it. I can't imagine having to eat while being addicted and attempting to control that. It must be the most difficult challenge to quit. She needs help and support. That weight will end you. I'm 6 feet 1 inch. I was 86 pounds from my situation when my therapist had me put in the hospital and I was forced into care because I was harming myself. She is doing the same. I'm not judging her for the challenge, I'm saying she needs help. What's more important to you? To be politically correct or her life? I'm not some jerk with judgment. I'm someone who has struggled and almost passed away. I want to help her, protect her. What are you doing? Letting her believe it's all okay because she's sad? If I ruined my relationship because I got sloppy and my crush didn't want to date me, would you have this sympathy or would you tell me to go to rehab? Ops response. Not that it even matters, but I guess since we're talking about it, I don't have a food challenge. I guess thanks for the concern. I'm trying to understand where you're coming from. But I don't overeat or spend all my days snacking away. And yes, as others have pointed out to you, I did say in my post, I've been on a journey to lose weight, but other medical factors that I don't feel the need to share is making that harder. But I do have doctors helping me. Edith, after reading more of this thread, I guess a lot of you are concerned. I wasn't going to say more, but honestly, I'm overwhelmed with the amount of people that locked onto this, and at least from the comments sound actually concerned about it. To clarify, I am 432 pounds currently. I'm not doing this by myself. I did try alone and was just going up and down. There are many doctors helping. I'm even taking a cooking class to learn how to make healthier foods daily. Aside from the actual numbers on the scale, I've had extensive testing just for my own peace of mind, and I am healthy. I do not have diabetes, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, heart issues, or anything else of that nature. I'm aware that just makes me lucky, and that I could very much still get those, which is why there are plenty of doctors involved in my journey. I put on weight because I was stuck in bed for months while my leg healed, and I was sad. I had no job, where I was used to working multiple jobs, and no money, which led to the depression. A mix of only eating once, maybe twice a day, and when I was eating it was fast food or probably something greasy. I wasn't overeating. I was actually kind of starving and then only putting bad foods in my body when I did eat. I do not have these habits anymore. I'm very conscious of what I'm eating and am very much making lifestyle changes. As easy as it is to put weight on, it takes forever for it to come off. Commenter 3, I think the reason people are reacting so strongly is that your view of your weight doesn't really line up with reality. You've said you aren't overeating, but at over 400 pounds, that's very unlikely to be accurate. Unless you have an underlying medical condition, weight gain only happens when calories consumed are higher than calories burned. It's not something that happens from eating too little. It's possible that when you were bedridden, you were eating less than what you used to with a very active lifestyle. But when physical activity drops, calorie intake has to be reduced significantly to avoid major weight gain. Also, saying you're basically the same size as your friends' girlfriends when you're actually double their size is very delusional. In no universe does a few extra inches in height justify an extra 200 pounds. You are not only morbidly obese, but you also seem a bit delusional about it. So, yeah, honestly, I don't blame your friend for not wanting to date you. Story 3. My ex's best friend kissed me without warning, then told my girlfriend I kissed her first. So my girlfriend dumped me over the phone and ghosted me for 2 years. But now she found out her entire friend group set me up because they didn't want us moving in together. So she's begging for another chance, even though I feel nothing anymore. Posted by you/DunoHat0Do. So right from the start, she's not entirely at fault here. When I was younger, 19, I cheated in one of my relationships. The circumstances don't matter, it could have been handled differently. I, now 26, cheated, and that's that. Fast forward when I was 23, I met my ex, 26 at the time. She was an absolute blast. I never really connected to another person like I did with her. We got serious from the second time we saw each other and started dating exclusively straight away. Even though it had been a while since my one and only time of cheating, I still felt like that was something you should disclose to anyone you're getting serious with. I told her about it. She talked, wanted to know more in depth about the situation, but ultimately, it didn't matter for her because, in her words, I was a completely different person now. Here's where the trouble starts. Her friends. They were all nice with me in the beginning, but as relationship kept going on, nearing the 1-year mark, they grew kind of standoffish with me. I didn't really feel welcome, or like I was part of the group if my ex and me went out with them somewhere. Then all of a sudden that changed. They were all welcoming to me, really friendly, hanging out and physically affectionate. I'm not that way myself, but I like it when others are that way with me. It shows they care, I guess. One day my ex's best friend asks me to hang out for a bit. Her best friend was someone who was always friendly with me, even during the short period when the others weren't. At one point I even helped her get through her ex cheating on her, due to her knowing my past and wanting some different perspective on the matter. Anyway, I'm out with her best friend in the local park, just talking and waiting patiently to tell me what's wrong. Instead, she plants a kiss on me, and it's pretty intense. She grabbed me by the face and just tried to shove her tongue in my mouth. I pushed her off almost instantly. She starts saying she's sorry, that she didn't mean this to happen, etc. and so on, and quickly excuses herself and leaves. Meanwhile, I'm completely at a loss what happened, and I don't call my ex straight away. I'm still kind of in shock. When I do end up calling my ex, I find out her best friend already called her and told her what happened, except not really. According to her best friend, I'm the one who kissed her first and started making out before she put a stop to things. Cue, a lot of drama, a lot of name-calling, a lot of begging on my part to be believed. But it didn't work. My ex and me were history. None of the people from her group of friends are even answering my calls or messages. I just wanted to know why this all happened. I don't get that. I don't get answers or closure. My girlfriend didn't believe me. She didn't even break up with me in person, it was over a phone call. So I sunk into a depression, no surprise. Couple of friends stuck by me, helped me get through, but for more than 2 years now, I have avoided any chance to meet new people, or if someone expressed an interest in me, I would just ignore it. I got an email yesterday, it's still here sitting on my screen. It starts off with a million apologies, because she found out the truth about what really happened recently. The whole thing with her best friend was premeditated. The whole freaking friend group was in on it. They didn't like that my ex and I were getting serious, that we were talking about moving in together after being together for less than a year. Her best friend decided to be the one to kiss me, because apparently, I seemingly clicked the best with her out of all of them, and the cheating thing would be most believable that way. The others backed up her stories about how close we were at the group meetups. Yeah, I know, it's so messed up. My ex has only found out about this a week ago from one of the people who had a falling out with the rest of the group, and on their way out they wanted to blow up the whole thing with every dirty little secret they had. She tells me she hasn't dated anyone since we broke up. She didn't have the will to try again after our relationship. She just studied and worked and hung out with her friends. After she found out the truth, she says she cried for days because she really did love me, even after the breakup, because a part of her couldn't believe it happened, the cheating. She's begging me to get together with her, even if only for just some closure, just for one date where she can apologize in person. I haven't responded yet because I don't know what to say. For a year or more after the breakup, I freaking dreamed of this happening, her finding out the truth, us coming back together better than ever. But now there's nothing. My heart didn't skip a beat. I don't feel anxiety or anticipation of any sort that might happen due to meeting her. To put it short, I don't know what to do. Do I agree to her request about meeting up? And if so, do I end up giving us two a go again? I'm not sure if I could. I'm not sure if I feel anything anymore for her. My best friend says that might be me just preemptively protecting myself from more hurt, but I don't know. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, Op, I think you ought to meet at least once. Give her a chance to apologize in person. See if the spark is still there. If you don't, you will always wonder. But be wary. She says she's sorry. She says she's cut her friends off and has nothing to do with them. Well, talk is cheap. Remember, she was friends with them for years. She may be just as toxic as they are. Op's response, she may be just as toxic as they are. How do I recognize if this is true or not? Commenter 2. For starters, I would check whether or not she still talks with said friend group. Only if she no longer speaks to them would I consider going back to her. But those are my thoughts. Commenter 3. I'm conflicted on this. On one hand, she chose to believe her collective group of friends before ever hearing your side of things. But then again, if you were in a similar position and the majority of the people you trusted told you a harsh truth about your significant other, would you not believe them for having your back? It's been 2 years after the fact. You closed yourself off due to this. She claims to have done the same thing. Maybe that's true, I honestly don't know. If you feel nothing, you may consider meeting her. You don't really have anything to lose. I might suggest something different if you weren't so detached from dating, but seeing her might give you a sense of closure in order to either move on or give what could have been another shot. I also suggest seeing if her claims of not seeing anyone in between are true. You were broken up, so she was technically free to do her thing, but considering the circumstances of your breakup, you may feel different if you choose to give it another shot and find out she lied about seeing other people. Op's response. But then again, if you were in a similar position and the majority of the people you trusted told you a harsh truth about your significant other, would you not believe them for having your back? I forgot to say that all of them are her childhood friends, people she's known for more than 20 years. It's not that I found her believing them over me to be implausible. I guess I just wish she'd have trusted my version of the story. Commenter 4, she is just as much of a victim as you are in this scenario. The question is whether any feelings remain after all the drama. Update, 3 months later. I decided to give my ex-girlfriend that one meetup for her sake. I honestly wasn't expecting to gain anything myself from this. But I still remembered how much I cared for her, so I figured I could do this one thing and we could both move on with our lives. Meeting her in person, though, that was a whole different thing. I don't know how to describe this feeling, but it was quite like anticipation, like when you're just expecting something to happen and don't know if it's good or bad. Now that I look back on it, I know I was hoping for good. We talked a great deal when we met and ended up staying out for hours. A great deal of it was her sincerely apologizing for not believing me and breaking up with me over the phone without even giving me a chance. But in truth, I couldn't blame her and told her as much, since these were all people she grew up with. She didn't really have a reason to not believe them, since they never did this sort of thing before. This was followed by some trash talking of her former friends. That was kind of nice, and we ended up having a few laughs over it, even though I could tell she was sad by what happened. She's only got 2 friends now, an older woman from her workplace and a girl her age from a hobby workshop. They seem to be good for her, from what she's saying, but she admits that occasionally she misses what she had with her previous friends, if not the people themselves. I really did end up feeling better from that one talk, and when the time came to go our separate ways, she asked me if I would be open to talking with her more in the future. My ex was upfront about her hoping that there might still be something between us in the future, but she wasn't pushy about it. Anyway, told her I wouldn't know, but also told her to just talk when she feels like it, and I might or might not reply. Exchanged numbers, and that was it for the day. Without dragging this out any further, we started dating again. Talking ended up bringing back how I used to feel about her, but I was holding back for a lot of the time, and she was very patient with me. Never tried to push too much, never tried to just pick up from where we ended. It's basically dating like we've never dated with each other, in some way. Not sure if I can describe it properly. English isn't my first language. I guess it's got that good part of where you're getting to know someone and actually enjoying doing so. A lot of talk about trust has been had. Just a few days back was when, after a night out, she invited me to her place. I knew what this was about, obviously, but I wasn't 100% sure. I guess I was just being cautious on some level. My ex seemed to sense it and let me off with some words of how I might need some rest for work in the morning so she'd understand. I can't really tell you how that made me feel exactly, but it just shows me she cared. She cares, and I went up with her, and it was something I really freaking missed. It's not just two people together, it's her and me together. So yeah, we're together, we're dating, and we're taking it a bit slowly, but I'm happy and she's happy and things are good. Story 4. I promised my niece and nephew I'd buy them any car they wanted if they kept a B average through high school. My niece crushed it and got her dream car, but my nephew never did his homework, and now he's mad I won't reward his laziness. So his mom is punishing my niece for following through on her end. Posted by you/oldman_Reddita. Hey, I'm an old guy who has never posted on Reddit, but at the urging of my niece and nephew, I'm going to attempt to post this here. So I, 50M, have a niece and a nephew who are both 18 and just graduated. A few years ago, when they were entering high school, I made a deal with them. If they kept a B average their entire time in high school, I would buy them any car of their choosing, within reason, of course. We added a clause that they got one semester forgiven, so they were able to mess up one semester and I wouldn't hold it against them. I felt like 7 out of 8 semesters with a B average was pretty fair, so my niece maintained her grades. She did mess up her sophomore year, but otherwise was right on track. My nephew, on the other hand, pretty much never did right. We were lucky that he even passed every semester. I offered help, tutors, books, tried to make sure he was okay mentally, whatever he needed, but turns out he just straight up was not doing his work. He was doing good on tests, but would never do his actual work, resulting in his grades being low. So last week was when my niece got her car. She chose a 2025 Toyota Camry. My nephew kept asking when he was going to get his, and I told him he didn't stick to his end of the agreement, so he did not get a car. He still got a very nice gift back at graduation. Now, him and his mom are angry with me and saying I'm favoring my niece, and now he is refusing to speak to me or his sister. I don't think I messed up, but I'm starting to worry. Am I the jerk? Relevant comments. Commenter 1, NTA. You made a deal, and he chose to mess around and find out. Academic struggles are one thing, but being irresponsible is quite another. Ops' response, yeah, I felt the same. I know school had always been a little harder for him. That's why I was trying to help before just giving up. But when it turned out he was making 90% on some of his tests, but those were the only thing he did all year, I sort of lost sympathy. Commenter 2, NTA. You made the rules very clear. Question though, has he been tested for ADHD? I was very much the same as him, terrible at keeping up with my homework, but I did well on tests. I was diagnosed with ADHD much later, well into adulthood. Ops response, they've both been tested. Niece has it mild, nephew does not have it at all. I was the same way in high school, so if that was the case, I would have been a lot more understanding. Commenter 3, don't want to say you're the jerk, but if I was your nephew, I am definitely holding this against you forever, and I can imagine the everlasting jealousy of his sister now driving this car. He's basically going to be reminded every single day about it too. So maybe I'm going to be one of the few going against the grain, actually. Was a cool concept to motivate them, but not everyone learns the same, and now he's just going to feel worse about it too. Well done, jerk. Commenter 4, I get where you're coming from, but at some point, consequences have to mean something. He could have spoken up and told his uncle he was struggling. Judging from the post, I'm pretty sure he would have understood. He clearly did his best to support him and keep him on track. And let's be real, if he still got the card, despite not meeting the original agreement, the niece would have had every right to feel resentful. It wouldn't have been fair to her at all. Ops response, yep. I told him if he needed help to come to me. And as I said, I offered tutors or anything, and even told him I would give him an extra semester if he would take advantage of any of the help I offered. I attended a parent and principal meeting with him because he was in danger of not graduating. When I found out it was from him just being lazy, I knew the deal was off the table. Commenter 5, did his mom know the deal and agree with it too? There's no reason for her to be upset with you too. She should be thankful that you are so generous with her children. Ops response, their mom knew. I asked her before I ever even brought up the idea to the kids way back when. I love and take care of them like my own, so this is hard. It almost feels like my own son is upset with me. Commenter 6. Info. Did he turn down the extra help? Does he have a learning disorder? Would you reconsider if he does a trade school or other path to independence and is successful? Regardless of answers, NTA. Ops response, yes, he turned down all extra help. I offered to even forgive an extra semester if he accepted help. Nope. No, he has been tested in the past. No, he does not want to go to college or trade school. Commenter 7. What was Ops' nephew's gift? Ops' response, my nephew got $5,000 for his gift. My niece did not get that. He does also have full access to an older car that runs excellent. It's just old and not amazing looking. I thought maybe he would use the money to get it repainted or something, but I'm not sure. He has been tested twice and does not have ADHD or autism. I also had it in school, so I would have completely understood. But also he agreed to the deal. It wasn't like I just sprung it on them. They had agreed and their mother had as well. Commenter 8, Doug, does Ops' nephew have a job? Ops' response, yeah. He got fired from his only job because my sister-in-law went in to yell at his boss. Commenter 9, where are the twins' father in all of this? Ops' response, my brother is not involved. Oops, meant to add that in the post. I'm basically their father figure. They call me Papa Unk. Commenter 10, Ops responds to a downvoted comment about getting his nephew an older car. Ops' response, maybe. He does have full access to a car, though. His mom has two and never drives that one. It's a little bit of a car. It's honestly old and raggedy as hell, but it works. Definitely no sharing. And yes, my nephew's grad gift was $5,000. I've been saving for their graduation since they were babies. Update, 3 months later. Hi peeps, have read it? I wanted to give an update because lots have happened. So first I sat down with my nephew and his mom to talk it through. I explained that this was the deal he agreed to before starting high school, and that he has known for years he was not getting the car. Some comments say I let him on, which was not the case. He has been aware of not getting the car for years. And that his sister followed through, he did not. Well, all of that to no avail. He was still sulking and pretty angry. His mom felt I ruined his summer because he couldn't drive himself around, and because he refuses to speak to his sister, she won't drive him either. I then discovered that my niece was being punished at home because she would not let nephew drive or ride in her car. I told him I was not forcing her to, and it pretty much turned into a fight between me and my sister-in-law. Also, to address a few comments I got, my nephew still got a very nice grad gift from me, and he does not have any learning disabilities like some comments suggested. And also, he had been aware he was not getting a car for around 3 years. As for my niece, she's been nothing but grateful. It was planned for her and her brother to move in with me. But only she has. I have not heard from or seen my sister-in-law or nephew in about a month. They have also both blocked and cut off my niece, which has been hard for her. Me and my wife are working on getting her into therapy, but otherwise she is doing fine and we love having her. So things are still hard, but we are all working through it. Thanks everyone for all the advice. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, why were they planning to move in with you? Ops response, they both planned to move in with me when they graduated. Purely because my house is bigger and they wanted a change of environment. Commenter 2, what else are you doing for her? It's starting to feel like you can provide them a lifestyle their parents can't, and she's taking advantage and her brother is jealous and bitter, he's not benefiting. I don't blame you for sticking to the agreement with nephew as long as it was clearly laid out from the beginning, and for him to treat you this way after you still got him a nice grad gift is just spoiled kid behavior. Oh, and shame on your sister for not sticking to any principles or standards. Ops response, my nephew is still welcome to live here if he apologizes. I was always going to pay for both of their college or wedding, whichever they choose. They've known this their whole life. I am paying for niece's college and still plan to pay for nephew's wedding. My sister-in-law isn't super well off, but by no means is she struggling. She could easily afford a car for him. She's just too cheap to do so. Niece also is not paying to live here. Yep, it's been clear since day one, which is why I don't understand why they are behaving this way. Commenter 3. Op clarifies the relationships between the twins and himself. Op's response, technically my brother's kids. But they don't know my brother, and I haven't spoken to him in years, so I just say my sister-in-law's kids. Commenter 4. Op on having his niece's car in his name. Op's response, I do have say in it, as the car is in my name. Also, she's an adult, so her mom has no say in what she does, period. Neither do I, honestly. Op's response, yeah, she wanted it in my name because she was worried her mom might try to actually take it. At the time, it was still a few months before they were supposed to come live with me. Now that she lives with me, we plan on switching it over. Still a gift, just protecting her. Commenter 5. This whole thing perfectly shows how being right can still blow up your family. You didn't break any promise. You actually stuck to the deal exactly as stated. But you completely underestimated how pride, shame, and family dynamics work. Your nephew didn't just lose a car, he lost face, and that humiliation got redirected at everyone else. Now your sister-in-law's furious, your nephew's cut off his own sister, and your niece, the one who did everything right, is paying the emotional price for your rigid fairness. You didn't create a lesson about accountability, you created a hierarchy. One winner, one loser. And that kind of setup always ends ugly in families because people don't separate logic from feelings. What's genuinely concerning, though, is that you don't seem to realize the extent of the damage you've caused. You're describing a complete family breakdown like it's an unfortunate side effect, when in reality, it's the direct consequence of how you handled this. And honestly, it's weird that you made a long-term deal with minors about something this big without really including their mother in the process. That's not your call to make alone. It blurs the line between cool uncle and overstepping adult, and it probably added to the resentment your sister-in-law feels now. You're not evil, but you overstepped. I'm underestimated the emotional fallout, and now act like the outcome was inevitable. Sometimes, fairness without empathy and without boundaries just looks like cruelty wearing a suit. Op's response, their mother was involved the entire time. I asked her before I ever brought it up to them. Also, it was not one winner, one loser. They both could have won or lost. And lastly, I make a vast majority or all big decisions in their lives. For much of their lives, I was raising them without my sister-in-law, and even to right before this, my sister-in-law would consult me on anything regarding them, or the kids would ask me themselves. So while I understand, I did not overstep in any way. Story 5. Wife confessed during a family dinner that she always wished she married my best friend, so I packed my things and left. But now she's begging me to come back. I'm going to use pseudonyms to protect everyone's privacy. My name is Ethan, and I've been married to my wife, Mia, for 12 years. We have 2 wonderful children, a son named Liam, who is 10, and a daughter named Sophie, who is 7. My best friend since college is Jack. We've been inseparable since we met, and he's been a significant part of our family's life. Last weekend, we hosted a family dinner at our home to celebrate Mia's recent promotion. We invited our close family members and, of course, Jack. The evening started beautifully. Laughter filled the room. The kids were playing happily, and the atmosphere was warm and joyful. After dinner, Mia stood up to make a toast. She clinked her glass, and everyone turned their attention to her. She began by thanking everyone for coming and expressing how grateful she was for all the support she'd received. Then her tone shifted. You know, she said, life is funny sometimes. We make choices, and we wonder what could have been if we'd chosen differently. A murmur went through the room, and I felt a knot forming in my stomach. She continued, Jack, you've been a dear friend to both Ethan and me. Sometimes I think about how things might have been if you and I had ended up together. The room fell into an uncomfortable silence. My heart dropped. I could see Jack's face turn pale, his eyes wide with shock. My mother gasped, and my father looked at Mia with disbelief. Mia, what are you saying? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. She shrugged, seemingly oblivious to the gravity of her words. I'm just saying that sometimes I wonder if I made the right choice. Jack and I have so much in common. Tears welled up in my eyes. I felt a mix of humiliation, anger, and heartbreak. Without saying another word, I stood up and left the table. I heard Jack call after me, but I couldn't face anyone at that moment. I went upstairs, grabbed a suitcase, and started throwing clothes into it. Mia followed me into the bedroom. "What are you doing?" she asked, sounding more annoyed than concerned. "I'm leaving," I said tersely. "I can't stay here after what you just said." "Don't be dramatic, Ethan. It was just a thought. Nothing's happened between Jack and me." I spun around to face her. "Whether or not anything has happened, you just told our entire family that you wish you'd married my best friend. Do you have any idea how that makes me feel?" She sighed. "Look, I'm sorry if it came out wrong. I didn't mean to hurt you." I shook my head, zipping up my suitcase. "You've done enough. I need some time to think." I packed a bag for the kids and went downstairs. The guests were awkwardly milling about, unsure of what to do. Jack approached me with tears in his eyes. "Ethan, I had no idea she felt that way. I swear I never." "I know," I interrupted, trying to muster a reassuring smile. "This isn't your fault." Jack looked relieved but still concerned. "Is there anything I can do?" he asked softly. I shook my head. "I just need some time to process everything." Gathering my composure, I walked over to the kids. "Liam, Sophie, grab your things. We're going to stay with Aunt Sarah for a little while." "Why, Dad?" Liam asked, his eyes filled with confusion. "Just a little family trip," I replied, trying to sound upbeat. As we left, Mia stood at the doorway. "Ethan, please don't go. Let's talk about this." I paused for a moment. "We'll talk when I'm ready, Mia." At my sister Sarah's house, the kids settled in quickly, excited to spend time with their cousins. That night, after putting them to bed, I finally allowed myself to break down. Sarah sat beside me, offering silent support. Over the next few days, Mia bombarded me with calls and messages begging for forgiveness. I needed space, so I turned off my phone. I spent time with my kids, took long walks, and tried to clear my head. Jack sent me an email pouring out his apologies and assuring me he had no idea Mia felt that way. He even offered to cut off contact if it would help. I believed him. Jack had always been a loyal friend. A week later, I decided it was time to confront Mia. We agreed to meet at a local park where the kids often played. The autumn leaves crunched underfoot as we sat on a bench, a chilly breeze reminding me of the distance between us. "Ethan, I'm so sorry," she began, her eyes pleading. "I was an idiot. I didn't mean any of it." "Then why say it, Mia?" I asked, my voice steady. "Why humiliate me in front of everyone we know?" She sighed deeply. "I've been struggling lately. Work has been stressful, and I guess I've been feeling unfulfilled. I thought achieving that promotion would make me happy, but it didn't. And how does wishing you married my best friend fit into that?" She looked down at her hands. "I think I was projecting my dissatisfaction. Jack seemed so carefree and adventurous. I felt like I was missing out." I stared at her incredulously. "So you thought confessing that in front of our families was the solution?" I wasn't thinking clearly. I realize now how hurtful and inappropriate it was. "I love you, Ethan. I don't want to lose our family." I took a deep breath, choosing my words carefully. "Mia, love isn't just about words. It's about respect and consideration. What you did showed a complete lack of both." She nodded slowly. "I know. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make it up to you." "I'm not sure if that's possible," I admitted, "but for the sake of the kids, I'm willing to try counseling." Relief washed over her face. "Thank you. You won't regret this." The following weeks were challenging. We began attending couples therapy, where we unpacked years of unspoken frustrations and unmet expectations. Mia admitted that she had been envious of Jack's lifestyle, but insisted she didn't have romantic feelings for him. I worked on expressing my feelings more openly, realizing that I'd often bottled things up to keep the peace. The therapist helped us develop better communication skills, but trust was harder to rebuild. One afternoon, Jack showed up at my sister's doorstep. "Can we talk?" he asked hesitantly. I agreed, and we walked to a nearby cafe. Over steaming cups of coffee, he told me he had accepted a job offer abroad. "I think some distance would be good, for everyone," he said. I felt a pang of sadness, but also relief. "I understand," I hope this new opportunity brings you happiness." He reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "I truly value our friendship. Ethan, I never wanted to come between you and Mia." "I know," I replied. "Take care of yourself." As he left, I realized that while I would miss him, this was a chance for me to focus on healing my marriage without lingering doubts. Back at therapy, I shared the news with Mia. Jack's moving overseas. She looked surprised, but nodded. "Maybe that's for the best." "Maybe?" I echoed. Months passed, and gradually, the tension between Mia and me eased. We found ourselves laughing together again, sharing stories about the kids and enjoying quiet evenings at home. The scars were still there, but they were healing. One evening after the kids were asleep, Mia handed me a small box. "What's this?" I asked. "Just open it," she said softly. Inside was a watch with a delicate infinity symbol. "I want this to represent a new beginning," she explained, "an endless commitment to you and our family." I felt tears well up. "It's beautiful." I felt tears welling up in my eyes as I held the watch. "It's beautiful," I whispered, my fingers tracing the delicate infinity symbol. Mia's eyes searched mine. "Does this mean you'll give us another chance?" she asked cautiously. I took a deep breath. "Mia, this gesture means a lot to me, but rebuilding trust isn't something that can be symbolized by a watch alone. It takes time, effort, and consistency." She nodded earnestly. "I understand. I'm willing to do whatever it takes." "Then let's take it one step at a time," I replied softly. She smiled, a hint of relief in her expression. "I'd like that." In the following weeks, we focused on reconnecting. We continued attending counseling sessions where we learned to communicate more openly and honestly. Mia made a conscious effort to be present, not just physically, but emotionally. She spent more time with the kids, helping Liam with his science projects, and attending Sophie's dance recitals without being glued to her phone. One evening, as we were preparing dinner together, Mia turned to me. "I've been thinking about what you said, that trust has to be rebuilt." I glanced up from chopping vegetables. "And I've decided to step back from some work commitments. The promotion isn't worth losing my family over." I was surprised. "Are you sure? You've worked so hard for that position." She shrugged. "Success means nothing if I can't share it with the people I love." I smiled gently. "I appreciate that, Mia." Our conversations became deeper, more meaningful. We reminisced about how we first met, our early days of dating and the dreams we once shared. It felt like we were rediscovering each other. One Saturday, we took the kids on a spontaneous trip to the countryside. We spent the day hiking, flying kites, and enjoying a picnic under the open sky. The laughter and joy were genuine, and for the first time in a long while, I felt a sense of wholeness. That night, after putting Liam and Sophie to bed, Mia and I sat on the porch sipping tea. The silence between us was comfortable. "Today was amazing," I said softly. She nodded. "It was. Seeing you happy means everything to me." I looked at her, the sincerity in her eyes unmistakable. "I can see how hard you're trying, Mia, and I want you to know it's making a difference." She reached out and took my hand. "I love you, Ethan." "I love you too," I admitted, feeling a weight lift off my shoulders. As the months passed, the wounds began to heal. Trust was slowly restored, not through grand gestures, but through everyday actions, sharing chores without being asked, leaving little notes in my lunch, listening attentively when I spoke about my day. One afternoon, I received a letter from Jack. He wrote about his new adventures abroad, how he'd started painting again, and how the distance had given him clarity. He apologized sincerely for any unintended pain and wished me all the happiness in the world. I decided to write back, expressing that I held no ill will and hoped he found fulfillment in his new journey. It felt like closing a chapter, allowing both of us to move forward. Winter arrived, and with it came the holidays. We hosted a small gathering with close family. This time the atmosphere was warm and filled with genuine happiness. Mia stood up to make a toast. "I want to thank everyone for being here tonight," she began. "This year has taught me the value of family, forgiveness, and love. Ethan, thank you for standing by me. I'm a better woman because of you." I felt a blush rise to my cheeks as everyone raised their glasses. The clinking sound was accompanied by smiles and nods of approval. Later that night, as we were cleaning up, Mia pulled me into a gentle embrace. "I meant every word," she whispered. She rested her head on my chest. "I know." "Do you ever think about renewing our vows?" she asked hesitantly. I pulled back to look at her. "You want to?" "Yes. I want to celebrate our commitment to each other to mark this new chapter in our lives." I considered it for a moment, then smiled. I think I'd like that. Plans were made for a small, intimate ceremony in the spring. Liam and Sophie were thrilled, eager to be part of the celebration. Sophie wanted to be the flower girl, and Liam insisted on being the ring bearer. On the day of the vow renewal, surrounded by blooming flowers and our closest loved ones, Mia and I stood facing each other. The officiant nodded for Mia to begin. "Ethan, 12 years ago, I vowed to love and cherish you. I failed you once, but standing here now, I promise to never take you for granted again. You are my partner, my confidant, the love of my life." Tears shimmered in my eyes as I responded. "Mia, we've had our ups and downs, but through it all, we found our way back to each other. I vow to continue growing with you, to face life's challenges together, and to never stop believing in us." We exchanged rings, a new set to symbolize our renewed commitment. As we sealed our vows with a kiss, applause erupted around us. The kids cheered the loudest, their faces glowing with happiness. The reception was filled with laughter, music, and dancing. Watching Liam and Sophie play with their cousins, I felt a profound sense of contentment. Later that night, as we sat together under the stars, Mia took my hand. "Thank you for believing in me, in us." She leaned her head on my shoulder. "Thank you for proving that people can change." Life continued with its usual rhythm. But there was a renewed energy in our household. We faced challenges, of course, but we tackled them together, fortified by the trials we had overcome. One day, while sorting through old boxes, I came across a photo album from our early years. Flipping through the pages, I smiled at the memories. Mia joined me, and we spent the afternoon reminiscing. "Look at this one." She pointed to a photo of us at the beach, sunburned and smiling. "I remember that trip. Our car broke down, and we had to hitchhike back to the hotel. I laughed. She grinned. Best adventure ever." As we closed the album, she turned to me. "Here's to many more adventures together." I nodded, feeling a deep sense of joy. Together. Our journey wasn't perfect, but it was ours. Through heartbreak and healing, we rediscovered not just each other, but also ourselves. The experience taught us that love is not just a feeling, but a choice, one we were both willing to make every single day. After a while, she wanted to go to bed, and I wanted to see more our memories. Then, as I was looking for the other albums, a certain strange album came out, which I couldn't recognize, as it had different images in it. The curiosity took the better of me, so I thought, I'll have a quick look. There were photos of my wife together with me and her friends, and there I nearly couldn't believe what I just saw: my wife with my best friend kissing each other. Story 6. My family wants me to cancel my wedding date so my sister can get married first. I'm a 28-year-old guy, and my fiancé and I have been engaged for about 18 months. We've been together for years, and the plan has always been to get married next spring. We've already booked the venue, paid the deposit for the caterer, and locked in a photographer. All the big stuff is done, so I was starting to feel like we could just relax and enjoy the countdown to our wedding day. But then, all hell broke loose. To set the stage a little, my family is big and pretty close. We have a lot of traditions, and weddings are a huge deal. My sister, who's 25, just got engaged recently, and while I'm happy for her, she's had a rough time trying to plan her wedding. The main issue: she's been struggling to book a venue for the date she wants, and that's where the drama starts. She's been pretty vocal about being envious of the venue we booked. Every time she brings it up, she calls it perfect and goes on about how her fiancé's family can't afford something like that. I didn't think much of it. Lots of people talk about wedding envy when they're planning, right? But I didn't realize how deep her jealousy went until a family dinner a couple of weeks ago. We're all sitting there, having a pretty normal meal, when my mom starts making this weird speech about how amazing it would be if my sister could use our venue. I'm sitting there, fork halfway to my mouth, thinking it's a joke, but she keeps going. She's talking about how my sister is younger, and since her fiancé is in the military, there's a chance he might be deployed soon. According to my mom, it just makes sense for her to get married first. And wouldn't it be so lovely if we moved our wedding date so my sister could have the venue? At this point, I'm still processing because what? My fiancé and I had this date booked for over a year. Everything's paid for. But my mom is dead serious, and my sister is sitting there nodding like it's a done deal. My fiancé, she's furious, and I can't blame her. The whole thing is completely ridiculous. She doesn't even say a word at the table, just gives me a look that says, do not even entertain this idea. So I politely but firmly tell my mom and sister that there's no way we're changing our wedding plans. And of course, my sister bursts into tears. Full-on waterworks at the dinner table. She storms out and my mom goes after her, throwing us the most disappointed look I've ever seen. The rest of the dinner is just awkward silence, with my parents clearly uncomfortable, but not saying much. I thought maybe that was the end of it. Maybe my sister would cool down, realize how insane the whole idea was, and we could all move on. But nope. The next day, my phone is blowing up. Texts, missed calls, voicemails, you name it. It's all from various family members, and the general message is that I need to think about family unity and be the bigger person. My mom must have gotten to them first because everyone is acting like it's some small ask, like all we'd have to do is snap our fingers and the wedding plans would magically change. Some of the messages are trying to guilt-trip me into giving in. It's just one small sacrifice for the sake of family harmony, they say, as if moving an entire wedding is no big deal. My mom calls and starts talking about how weddings are supposed to bring families together, not divide them. She's going on and on about how disappointed my grandmother would be if the family couldn't get along for such an important event. Meanwhile, I'm sitting there staring at my phone, feeling like I'm living in some kind of weird alternate universe. My fiancé is understandably furious about all of this. She doesn't even want me to entertain these conversations, and I don't blame her. It's our wedding, and we've worked hard to make everything perfect for us. I'm feeling overwhelmed, so I do what any rational person does in the age of the internet. I turn to Reddit. I throw up a post explaining the situation, asking if I'm being unreasonable for refusing to change our wedding date. I'm half expecting people to say, yeah, family comes first, you should consider it. But the response is intense. The post blows up. People are furious on my behalf, telling me to stand my ground and not give in to this crazy request. Reddit support is great, but it also makes me realize how ridiculous this whole situation is. My sister even texts me an ultimatum. Either I give up the date or she won't come to the wedding and she'll make sure the rest of the family doesn't either. I didn't think things could get worse, but now it feels like my whole family is turning against me because I won't let my sister hijack our wedding. At this point, I don't know what to do. I'm trying to stay calm and not let this ruin the excitement of our wedding, but the pressure is getting intense. My fiancé and I are on the same page. We're not changing anything. But with the family piling on the guilt and my sister basically threatening to blow everything up, it feels like this is just the beginning of a much bigger mess. Update 1. I woke up the next morning to a phone buzzing non-stop on my nightstand. Half asleep, I reached over, thinking maybe it was work or a random spam call, but no, it was family. Again, more texts, more missed calls. My grandmother was leading the charge this time, urging me to do the right thing and keep the family together. It was like they'd all gotten the same script overnight. Everyone was suddenly on board with this idea that I should just hand over our wedding date like it was no big deal. The guilt trip was real and I could feel the pressure building. By mid-morning, I was trying to shake it off, but then my parents showed up at our place unannounced. They looked serious, and I knew this wasn't going to be a casual visit. My fiancé and I let them in, and right away they jumped into this whole spiel about family traditions. My dad was saying how, in our family, it's always been customary for the younger sibling to marry first if they're ready. My mom was trying to be more emotional about it, saying how torn up the family is and how she's worried this whole situation is going to cause a permanent rift. It was heavy. My fiancé wasn't having any of it. She stood her ground, calmly but firmly letting them know that we weren't going to move our wedding date. She explained again that everything was booked, paid for, and planned. Changing anything now would cost us thousands of dollars, not to mention the stress it would cause. My parents looked shocked, like they hadn't expected her to be so direct. Then, out of nowhere, my mom broke down crying. She kept saying she couldn't handle the idea of the family being divided over this, and she begged me to reconsider. It was brutal seeing her that upset, and for a moment I felt torn. But I also knew that this was an impossible situation. Changing our wedding plans just to make everyone happy wasn't fair to my fiancé or to me. Before I could say anything, my younger brother, he's 22, chimed in. He's usually quiet when it comes to family drama, but this time he backed me up. He told my parents they were being unreasonable and that I should just do what makes me happy. He even offered to be my security at the wedding if things got out of hand with the family. My parents didn't really know how to respond to that, so they left still upset, but maybe realizing they weren't going to change my mind. Later that day, things got even messier. My sister had gone on Facebook and posted one of those super passive-aggressive statuses. Something about how some people can be so selfish, and how she was disappointed in the people who were supposed to be there for her during this stressful time. I knew it was aimed at me, but the kicker was how many family members were liking and commenting on it. More drama, more fuel to the fire. Then my mom called. This time she wasn't being polite. She flat out accused me of ruining her daughter's wedding dreams. She went on about how my sister was now talking about eloping because she was so stressed out from all of this. It felt like every conversation with them was some new layer of guilt, but it wasn't going to work. My fiancé and I had already decided that we weren't changing anything. My mom hung up on me, still furious. At that point, my fiancé suggested we go low contact with the family for a while. She was right. The constant calls, messages, and Facebook drama were taking a toll on both of us. So we made a plan to step back from the family until the wedding was over and focus on us instead. I reached out to our wedding planner to see if there was any possibility of my sister sharing the venue on a different weekend, just to see if that could calm things down. But no luck. The planner told us that the venue was booked solid for months. It wasn't even an option. Feeling drained, my fiancé and I decided to take a break from everything and plan a weekend getaway. Just the two of us. No drama, no family, no wedding talk. It was what we needed to reset and get our heads back on straight. Meanwhile, my sister's fiancé texted me, apologizing for all the drama. He seemed genuinely embarrassed and said he'd tried talking to her, but nothing was working. I appreciated the gesture, but it didn't change the fact that my sister and mom were still in full meltdown mode. As if things couldn't get worse, the family group chat exploded. Relatives were taking sides. Some were backing me up, saying this whole thing was ridiculous, while others were calling me selfish for not bending to family tradition. It was a full-blown family war with people I hadn't heard from in months suddenly weighing in on the situation. It was all too much. I ended up booking a session with my therapist to help process all the guilt and pressure. Reddit was still blowing up with support from strangers telling me to stick to my guns and cut off anyone toxic in my life. And they weren't wrong. I started to realize how much I'd been bending over backward to accommodate my family, and enough was enough. I wasn't going to let this drama overshadow our wedding. This was supposed to be about my fiancé and me, and it was time to start acting like it. Update 2. A few days after we decided to go low contact with my family, things took a dramatic turn. My sister had what I can only describe as a full-on meltdown. I woke up to a massive text message from her, about 10 paragraphs long, saying I had ruined her life and that I was responsible for destroying her wedding plans. She went on about how she had been dreaming of this perfect wedding since she was a little girl, and now that dream was falling apart because I wouldn't give her our venue. She was throwing every guilt-tripping tactic she could think of at me, talking about how I was older and should be more mature, and how she needed the venue more than I did because her fiancé might be deployed soon. It was completely over the top and honestly pretty exhausting to read. But I didn't respond. I figured engaging with her would only make things worse. Apparently, that wasn't enough for my mom. She escalated things by calling my parents and laying down an ultimatum. Either I give up the wedding date or they won't speak to me again. My mom called me afterward, and I could hear the stress in her voice. She was trying to hold it together, but I knew she was struggling. She told me how heartbroken she was that the family was being torn apart over something like this, and begged me to reconsider one last time. I told her that I wasn't changing my mind, and while she didn't say it, I could tell she finally understood that this wasn't going to go away. In the meantime, my fiancé and I had to start sending out our wedding invitations, but with all the family tension, it was hard to focus. It should have been a fun part of the process, but instead, it felt like we were walking on eggshells. Every name we added to the guest list felt like another potential source of drama. As if on cue, the family group chat exploded again. This time, one of my uncles chimed in to defend my sister, saying that family always comes first, and I should just let her have the date. More relatives jumped into the fray, and it turned into another back and forth of accusations and passive-aggressive jabs. It was like watching a car crash in slow motion, and there was nothing I could do to stop it. But then, something unexpected happened. My older cousin, who's 31 and usually stays out of family drama, stepped in. She sent a message to the group chat saying the whole situation was ridiculous and pointed out that my sister had a long history of attention-seeking behavior. She basically called out the entire family for enabling it, which honestly felt like a breath of fresh air. Finally, someone else was seeing this for what it really was. The group chat went quiet after that, and I was secretly hoping that would be the end of it. Of course, it wasn't. A few days later, I got wind that my sister had tried to book the same venue for the weekend before our wedding. She actually went behind our backs and tried to secure the venue, but thankfully it was already booked for another event. So her plan didn't work. The venue staff must have seen this coming because they contacted me to let me know what had happened. I wasn't surprised, but I was definitely annoyed. To make matters worse, her fiancé reached out to me again, apologizing profusely. He told me he had tried everything to get her to let it go, but she just wouldn't drop it. He was clearly embarrassed, and I actually felt bad for the guy. It seemed like he was caught in the middle of this whole mess too. And then, in a surprising turn of events, my parents finally came around. After hearing about the latest stunt my sister pulled with the venue, they told me I was doing the right thing by sticking to my plans. It was a relief to have their support, but they still urged me to keep the peace with the rest of the family, which was easier said than done. At this point, my fiancé and I had had enough. We made the decision to go completely no contact with my sister and her immediate family until after the wedding. It wasn't an easy choice, but it felt necessary. There was just too much stress and drama, and we needed to focus on making our wedding day what we wanted it to be. My fiancé's parents, who had been watching all of this unfold from the sidelines, expressed concern that the drama might overshadow our wedding, but they fully supported us in cutting ties. They assured us that no matter what, they were there for us, and it felt good to have that kind of unwavering support. Meanwhile, Reddit continued to rally behind us. Every time I posted an update, more people shared their own stories of family drama, encouraging us to stay strong and cut off anyone who was toxic. The community support was honestly one of the few things keeping me sane through all of this. In therapy, I talked through the guilt and pressure I was feeling, and my therapist reminded me to set firm boundaries. She encouraged me to stay focused on my happiness and not let anyone else's expectations ruin this special time. Then came the final straw. During my fiancé's dress fitting, I got an emotional voicemail from my grandmother. She was begging me to make peace with my sister, saying she didn't want to see the family divided. It was hard to hear, and I could tell it was affecting my fiancé as well. But despite everything, we were determined not to let this drama ruin our big day. With my fiancé's constant support, we decided to push forward with our plans. No matter what happened, we were going to make our wedding day about us and the love we shared, not about the family drama that had been trying to overshadow it. Update 3. A week after deciding to go no contact with my sister and her immediate family, things somehow managed to get even worse. I got a call from the wedding venue manager early one morning, and right away, I knew something was wrong. The manager explained that someone had called pretending to be me, trying to cancel our venue booking. Luckily, they flagged the request as suspicious and didn't go through with it. But the fact that someone had actually tried to sabotage our wedding hit hard. It didn't take long to figure out who was behind it. The venue manager gave us the date and time of the call, and everything lined up perfectly. It had to be my sister. There was no one else who would be this desperate or petty. I was shocked, but at the same time not entirely surprised. She had already tried booking the venue for the weekend before our wedding. Clearly, this was her next move. When I told my fiancé what had happened, she was furious and immediately wanted to involve the police. She was right, it was impersonation, and trying to cancel someone's wedding venue crossed a line, but I hesitated. Filing a police report meant taking this drama to a whole new level, and I wasn't sure I was ready for the family fallout that would come with it. Still, I knew we needed to protect ourselves, so we decided to keep that option on the table. The most painful part of all this was the silence from my family. After the sabotage attempt, I expected someone, anyone, to step in and call out my sister for what she did, but no one said a word. Not my aunt, not my other cousins, not even the relatives who'd been on my side before. It was like they were all pretending nothing had happened. This silence cut deeper than the actual sabotage. It felt like the family was choosing to turn a blind eye to her behavior. When I told my parents about the attempted cancellation, they were furious. My dad, usually the calm and rational one, immediately called my aunt to confront her. That led to a massive argument at a family gathering later that week. My parents were demanding answers, but my aunt, in typical fashion, tried to downplay the whole thing. She claimed my sister was just emotional and hadn't meant any harm, saying that it was just a reaction to all the stress she was under. No apology, no accountability, just excuses. That, of course, set off another explosion in the family group chat. Relatives started picking sides again, with some still defending my sister. They echoed my aunt's excuses, saying things like, "She's just stressed, and it's just wedding drama." She didn't mean it. But others, thankfully, were disgusted by what she'd done. A few people messaged me privately, saying they couldn't believe she'd stoop so low. As for my sister, she finally sent me a text. It wasn't much of an apology, though. She wrote that she was acting out of stress and hoped we could move past this. It was infuriating. After everything she'd done, the Facebook drama, trying to steal the venue, and now sabotaging our wedding plans, this half-hearted apology felt like a slap in the face. There was no mention of what she actually did or any real acknowledgement of the harm she caused. I decided I'd had enough. I posted an update on Reddit explaining the sabotage attempt and how my sister had pretended to be me to cancel the booking. The response was overwhelming. The post went viral again, with thousands of comments pouring in. People were outraged, calling out my sister's toxic behavior and encouraging me to go no contact for good. Many suggested I file a police report and take legal steps to protect myself. All of this was weighing heavily on my fiancée. She was becoming more and more frustrated with how the drama was overshadowing our wedding planning. It was supposed to be an exciting time for us, but instead, it felt like we were constantly putting out fires. She was right. This was adding unnecessary stress to what should have been a happy period in our lives. Our wedding planner even stepped in with a warning. She advised us to be cautious moving forward, especially with family involvement. She recommended hiring additional security for the wedding day, just in case. That was the last thing we wanted to hear, but given everything that had happened, it seemed like a smart move. After talking it over with my fiancé and close friends, we made the decision to go completely no contact with my sister and aunt until after the wedding. There was no way we could keep them in our lives without it continuing to cause more stress. It was a hard decision, but it felt like the only option left. Of course, my aunt wasn't done yet. She delivered one final ultimatum. If I didn't make peace with my sister, she and my sister would make sure a large portion of the family boycotted the wedding. I didn't even bother responding. At this point, it felt like their threats were empty and manipulative, and I wasn't going to let them bully me into giving in. In the end, we did file a police report. We wanted to have everything documented in case anything else happened. It wasn't about getting anyone arrested. It was about protecting ourselves and having legal protection moving forward. It felt like a weight had been lifted off our shoulders once we made that decision. Despite the ongoing drama, my fiancé and I we hired extra security, finalized our guest list, and decided to focus on the people who were truly supportive. It wasn't going to be the picture-perfect family wedding we had originally envisioned, but we were determined not to let my sister ruin our big day. This was our wedding, and we were going to make it special no matter what. Update 4: the boycott wasn't just an empty threat. My sister followed through, rallying a decent chunk of the family to refuse to attend the wedding. Several aunts, uncles, and cousins, who I thought would come, sent us messages or just went silent altogether. It felt strange seeing so many empty RSVPs rolling in, knowing they'd been swayed by her manipulative tactics. It wasn't just a simple "I can't make it." It was clear they were taking sides, and it stung more than I wanted to admit. My parents were struggling with it the most. They'd been fully supportive of our decision to hold firm on the wedding plans, but they were hurt seeing the family torn apart like this. They tried to convince a few relatives to reconsider, but most of them wouldn't budge. It was like they'd drawn a line in the sand, and nothing was going to change their minds. By the time the wedding rehearsal came around, the tension was thick in the air. The absence of those family members was noticeable, and it cast an awkward shadow over the evening. My fiancé's family, thankfully, was incredibly supportive. They'd been watching this entire circus from the sidelines, and while they were concerned about how all of this might affect the wedding day, they were there for us 100%. Their presence and calm energy helped offset the tension, but you could still feel the rift hanging over everything. Luckily, our close friends came through in a big way. Many of the roles family members were supposed to fill, like helping with setup and coordination, were quickly taken over by our friends. They rallied around us, stepping up to make sure everything would run smoothly. Honestly, without them, I don't know how we would have managed. They kept the mood light, which helped ease the pressure and allowed us to focus on the excitement of getting married. Meanwhile, my sister had shifted gears and was posting non-stop on social media about her own wedding. It was like she was trying to distract everyone from our wedding by throwing all the attention onto hers. The timing was no accident. It felt like a calculated move to steal the spotlight. And then, things took another turn. A friend of mine who was still connected with some of my sister's friends sent me screenshots of private messages between them. In these messages, my sister openly admitted she wanted to ruin my wedding out of pure jealousy. She even laughed about how successful she'd been in getting people to boycott. The messages were brutal. They painted her in the worst possible light, and seeing her true intentions written out like that hit hard. Those screenshots didn't stay private for long. They started circulating around our family, and soon enough, a social media war broke out. Some relatives rushed to defend her, saying she was just young and emotional and had acted out of stress. But others, thankfully, were horrified. A few who had initially sided with her even reached out to apologize and offered to come to the wedding, though it was too little, too late. I updated my Reddit post with the leaked messages, and as expected, the response was intense. Reddit exploded with outrage. People were disgusted with her behavior, and the support I received was overwhelming. Some users suggested going completely no contact with anyone who defended her, and as tempting as that was, I knew I needed to focus on the wedding. I wasn't going to let this mess consume any more of my energy. My therapist's advice was the same. She encouraged me to focus on the joy of the wedding and not let these toxic family members steal that from me. The no-contact decision felt more and more like the right move with each passing day. As we got closer to the wedding, my fiancé's family stepped in even more, offering both emotional and logistical support. They filled the gaps left by the boycotting relatives without missing a beat. It was a huge relief to have them there, making sure everything was in place and that we felt surrounded by love, not drama. Given all the sabotage attempts, we decided to hire extra security for the wedding. It wasn't something we ever thought we'd need, but with everything that had happened, it was better to be safe than sorry. The last thing we wanted was for my sister to pull some last-minute stunt and ruin our big day. When the wedding day finally arrived, there was a mix of excitement and nerves. We were both a little on edge, wondering if there would be any interference from my sister or those boycotting family members. But as the ceremony began, all of those worries started to melt away. The people who truly cared about us were there, and that's what mattered. The absence of several family members was noticeable, but surprisingly, it didn't dampen the mood. Instead, we focused on the love and support from the people who showed up. We had a beautiful ceremony surrounded by friends and the family members who actually wanted to be there. As the day went on, all the drama seemed to fade into the background. The reception was full of laughter, dancing, and music, and moments we'll cherish forever. In the days that followed, I felt an overwhelming sense of relief. The wedding was a success, and it had gone off without a hitch. But I also knew that my relationship with certain family members had been permanently damaged. There was no going back from what had happened, and I was okay with that. The people who truly mattered were there for us, and in the end, that's what counted. We'd made it through all the chaos, and now we could finally move forward with our lives, leaving the family drama behind us. Update 5. A few months after our wedding, my sister's big day was approaching, and I started hearing whispers that things weren't going well on her end. Rumors were floating around about vendors canceling last minute, and apparently she was having some major financial issues. People in the family were talking, but no one wanted to say anything directly to her, probably because of how sensitive things had become. I kept my distance, not wanting to get involved, but it wasn't long before things came to a head. Just a week before her wedding, the bomb dropped. Her wedding venue canceled on her. There was some error with her booking, and the venue had double booked for her date. When I heard this, I couldn't help but feel a twinge of karmic justice. After everything she had tried to pull with our wedding, this felt like the universe giving her a taste of her own medicine. I wasn't gloating, but I can't say I was surprised. You can only throw so much negativity around before it comes back to bite you. Then, of course, the inevitable happened. My aunt reached out, completely panicked. She begged me to help save my sister's wedding. She went on about how I was family, and surely I could pull some strings to find her another venue at the last minute. The sheer audacity of it left me speechless. After all the drama, the sabotage attempts, the family turning against me, they expected me to swoop in and fix everything. I wasn't having it. I politely but firmly told my aunt that I couldn't help, and frankly, I didn't want to. After everything they put us through, I wasn't going to sacrifice my peace or well-being for them. My fiancé backed me up 100%, and we decided together that we were officially done with that kind of toxic behavior. No more bending over backward to make other people happy, especially not the ones who had tried to ruin our wedding. As expected, the backlash was immediate. My aunt and sister once again rallied the family against me, accusing me of being cold-hearted and selfish for not stepping in to help. Some relatives started reaching out, trying to guilt me into changing my mind, but this time I was stronger. I wasn't going to let them manipulate me. I stood firm and ignored the drama. When my sister's wedding day finally arrived, it was a chaotic, scaled-down event. She'd managed to pull something together at the last minute, but it was far from the grand affair she had been bragging about for months. Most of the family who had boycotted my wedding showed up for hers, but the tension was palpable. I didn't go, of course, but from what I heard, the whole event felt strained, like no one really wanted to be there. It wasn't the fairy tale wedding she had envisioned, and honestly, it felt like she'd gotten exactly what she deserved. In the aftermath, I found myself reflecting on everything we'd gone through with my family. It was sad to realize that some relationships had been damaged beyond repair, but I didn't regret the choices we made. In standing up for myself and my fiancé, I'd learned so much about setting boundaries and not letting toxic people control my life. My fiancé reassured me that we'd made the right decisions, and our wedding day had been perfect because it was about us, not the drama. I posted one final update on Reddit, thanking everyone for their support throughout this insane ordeal. The community had been a lifeline for me during the toughest moments, and I wanted to let people know how we were moving forward. I shared how grateful I was for all the advice and encouragement, and how we were ready to close this chapter and focus on our future together. The response was overwhelming, with hundreds of comments cheering us on as we moved on from the family chaos. Months later, I received another apology from my sister. This time it felt more sincere than the first. She admitted that her actions had been driven by jealousy and stress, and she expressed regret for how things had played out. But even with that, I decided to keep my distance. Some wounds are too deep to heal quickly, and I knew that letting her back into my life would only invite more chaos. I was done with that. The family remains divided. Some relatives are still angry with me for not keeping the peace, while others have come around and now see my sister for who she truly is. It's a strange feeling knowing that some people in my family may never forgive me, but I've made peace with it. You can't please everyone, and I'm done trying. Through all of this, my bond with my close friends has only grown stronger. They stood by me during every meltdown, every ridiculous twist in this saga, and they showed me what true support looks like. I'm incredibly grateful for the people who chose to stand by us through thick and thin. Looking back, I have no regrets about how I handled the situation. I'm proud of the boundaries we set, and I feel like I've learned some valuable lessons about dealing with toxic family dynamics. It was a rough road, but it's made me stronger in the long run. Now, my fiancé and I are focusing on our future together. We're planning the next chapter of our lives, building something that's centered on love, respect, and most importantly, peace. The family drama may never fully go away, but we're ready to move forward without it weighing us down. As I close this chapter on Reddit, I want to thank the community again for helping me navigate one of the toughest times of my life. Without your support, I don't know if I'd have been able to stand up for myself the way I did, but now we're moving on, and it feels empowering. Here's to new beginnings, drama-free, drama-free.